I'm Robin Black, and this is the Breakdown UFC 204 main event. UFC middleweight champion Michael Bisping. It's got a nice ring to it, eh, Mike? Defends his title for the first time in England, no less, against UFC living legend Dan Henderson. What Hendo says is his retirement fight, looking to go out on top as UFC champion. Former Pride champ, Strikeforce champ, and Olympic wrestler, Henderson could be considered the greatest American fighter ever. His primary weapon, the H-bomb, his disintegrating right hand, but it's one H-bomb in particular that made this fight inevitable. This one. Boom. Sorry, Mike. Yikes. Hendo set him up. Inside low kick as part of a pattern, teaching him to expect the jab after, daring him to anticipate this pairing of shots. Then he'll program him once more. Inside low kick to jab. The trap is set. The noose is hung. The skip step fluffs out the inside low kick again, but it's just there to camouflage the stride and weight transfer onto the front leg. The same mechanics as a fastball. Bam! More pitch than punch. The muscular chain is a contralateral arc from front foot to fist. Old school, baby, like the Liddell Widowmaker. And this is why we are here. Bisping wants this one back. What does he need to do? Well, meats and potatoes is more than a traditional British delicacy. It's the key to Bisping's success, advanced fundamentals. It's how he wins. Against Rockhold, it was fundamental city from the get. Engage the right hand to take away Luke's nasty check hook, play with range and tempo, give him some data to process, then follow up that hand tangle with straight rights down the lane, advanced fundamentals. Once Luke's right hand is dealt with and Bisping's own right is established, tack on the low kick to stay on the outside angle. Advanced fundamentals. There is one good thing about getting hit. It can sometimes be evidence that your opponent is in range. Double check that range with a fist to the sternum while taking a hard outside step. Rule of thumb, if you can see into your opponent's ear, you're in a great position to hurt him. Advanced fundamentals for the win and the UFC middleweight title. Michael Bisping, ladies and gentlemen. But Bisping is more than meat and potatoes. He has intangible qualities, all too often overlooked by opponents. Let's just call it that Bisping groove. When Bisping gets flowing in a fight, he seems to get stronger as the fight progresses. Yes, grit, skill, and confidence are elements to this, but there's a key physiological component as well. To understand this, we need to compare how fighters use energy. Take the great Nick Diaz. Diaz may well be the best pure endurance athlete in the sport. A real marathon man. He fights to make combat as much like a true aerobic sport as possible. Diaz has a highly efficient oxidative system for energy production. Look at the meter on the right. It's showing the rate of energy being produced and how Diaz expresses it. Lower power, lower intensity, a cooler burn, but he can maintain that burn for an incredibly long duration. In fighting, as in all effort, the rate of energy production is inversely proportional to the duration. Diaz burns cooler, but he can go all night at this intensity, and he counts on the fact that you will slow down as he hums along. He's usually right. Now, let's look at welterweight champ Tyron Woodley and a different system of energy production, the glycolytic system. We established that the rate of energy production is inversely related to the duration. The glycolytic or anaerobic system produces energy through the burning of sugars without oxygen for up to 90 seconds of effort. Much higher power, but much, much shorter duration. A great athlete can keep anaerobic intensity very high for these bursts, but then needs active recovery for lactate clearance to buffer the system. Watch the meter. He burns hot, slows down to buffer and recover till he can burn again. If you compare Diaz to Woodley, you see two very different kinds of elite athlete. And if Diaz is like a marathon runner and Woodley a world-class sprinter, think of Bisping like a middle-distance specialist, a hybrid athlete. Higher intensity than the marathoner, longer duration than the sprinter. Bisping has perhaps proved out the optimal athletic conditioning for combat when fighting 5-minute rounds. Conditioning depends on how your body produces energy, how you choose to expend it, and how efficient you are in its use. Bisping can push the marathoners to burn out and outlast the sprinters, and he's developed kinesthetic understanding of how to use this energy. Conditioning and his anaerobic threshold as a weapon. If he gets into that Bisping groove, Dan Henderson will not keep up. No, Hendo's got to use the goom approach, the grimy, ornery, old man approach to fighting. Age may have slowed him down, but with experience has come unparalleled awareness and the nasty streak to abuse it for violent purposes. Need an example? How about this sullied elbow he used on Hector? Hector catches the head kick, immediately corrals it to the single leg position. Dan drives shin bone counterclockwise against thigh, connects lower and upper body with that anchor, senses the target like a vet, then torques the elbow counterclockwise to the temple. Yuck. That's the grimy, ornery old man approach in action, folks. Now for my personal fave against Shogun. Ick. Dan drives in on the double leg and Shogun gets under him. So Dan reaches for the low back. What kind of raunchy attack does the old guy have in mind here? Something cruddy and unsightly, no doubt. Oh no. Don't tell me he's blasting Shogun this way and the right fist is going to collide from the other side. Oh man, that is the definition of grimy, ornery old man approach to fighting. It's fascinating, it's pig pen beautiful, and it's 100% Dan Henderson. Can Dan Henderson really do it? Can he, at 46 years old, defeat Bisping again and retire UFC middleweight champ? Or will Bisping avenge a very personal loss, retain his title, and bring the house down in Manchester? Do not miss this fight, and enjoy the hostilities, my friends.